So, with question 5, what you're going to do is essentially just find the equation of the wine. Okay, so these wine graphs, they're obviously going to represent something. So what this represents is farmers with cattle and their age, okay, and what weight they are, depending on what age. Okay, so remember your formula. Okay, so always handy to remember. I'll try and get the pen working. Remember, y equals mx plus c. Okay, so how this relates to this wee scenario is, remember, this is your x-axis, that's your y. C, if you think about this, line will go through, hopefully it cuts through better than that. So C is where it cuts the y-axis, and your m is a gradient. Okay, so your m is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, now, you've already got some of this information. You've certainly got the information to make the gradient, because what you've got here is you've got 2 points in the line. As soon as you've got 2 points in the line, that's you can work out the gradient using this formula here. Okay, so what we've got is we've got a gradient, or the point here, and we're just going to call that x1, y1, and that is equal to 3 and 100. Okay, so that's the values for x1, y1. This up here then is going to be x2, y2, and that is 340 over, not over, sorry, and 15. Okay, so we've got pretty much the information we need in order to actually calculate this. So what we're going to do is we're going to say y equals mx plus c. Okay, so what we do is then we say, well, y equals, and we can work out what m is. Okay, so we've said that m is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, we've labelled it up there, so it's just a matter of just slotting these in. So y2 is 340, minus y1 was 100, x2 was 15, and minus 3. Okay, and then if we tidy this up, you end up with 240 divided by 12. Okay, so we need to think of, well, what's 240 divided by 12? Okay, 24 divided by 12 is going to be 2, so 240 divided by 12, that's going to be 20. So what we can do is we can then put this back into this equation. So what we've now got is y equals 20x plus c. Okay, so nearly there. So what we now want to do, okay, is we then want to think, well, let's work out where it actually cuts this axis, okay, where it cuts the y-axis. So we're going to work out what c is. So in order to do that, you take a set of coordinates and just plug them in to, you just plug them into this formula. Okay, so you just plug it into this formula. So I'm just going to take the coordinate for D. Okay, so the coordinate for D was 3, 100. Okay, so what we've got is we've got y is 100. That equals 20. Now x, it was 3 plus c. So we've got 100 equals the same as 60 plus c. So what do we add to c in order, what do we add to 60 in order to get 100? So if we take 60 away from both sides, we are left with c equals 40. Okay, so we're nearly there, because what we've now got is we've now got a form that says y equals 20x plus 40. Okay, because the gradient in the line's not changing, where it cuts this y-axis isn't changing, but obviously on the line the x and y coordinates could change, because there's x and y coordinates for this position. It would be a set for here. Okay, so these x and y coordinates change. Now if you remember, the whole scenario is about cows and their weight, so what you don't do is just leave it lying like this. Okay, you actually then have to think, well, what does X and Y actually represent? So Y represents the weight, which is W, and X represents the age, which is A. Okay, so what we end up doing is W equals 20 A plus 40. And that's your answer to that. Okay, now what we've then got is, the last wee bit of this is use an equation, work out for 1 year olds. Okay, so if it's 1 year old, remember that's going to be 20 months, right? Okay, so 1 year old is going to be 20 months. So what we've got is weight equals 20 times 12 plus 40. Okay, so again, this is, remember, non-calculator, so you probably need to do the working out here. Okay, so 10 times 12 is 120. 20 times 12 is then going to be 240. And we've still got the 40 to add on. So the weight, if it's 1 year old, the weight is going to be 280 kilograms. Okay, that's your answer to question 5.